good with the volumes, and we are live.
Sounds good to me. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the SEC Tavern Talk. We are here, your wonderful, awesome, amazing host and his 3 friends who are, all right. We got JB, James, and Rob in the house, along with me, Ashton. And, we're going to jump right into it this week. Maybe we'll get out of here under the hour mark. We're hoping, but no promises. Mm-hmm. So, JB, will you kick us off with a recap of Arkansas's performance last week against LSU?
Yeah, I can start us off. You know what? Arkansas fans, you're about to trip out if you didn't watch the game. I'm sure you did if you're an Arkansas fan, but we were actually down 24-3 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and we came back on them in the fourth quarter. It's usually the opposite. So we usually fall apart in the fourth quarter. So that's nice to see.
We had when other teams start falling apart in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. Ashton, you'll get your time with that. Ty Story, he had a decent game. I mean, he threw for right at 50%, which is not good. But I mean, he had 200 yards, a touchdown, or 2 touchdowns, and an interception to DBU. Can't fault him for that. But what's weird about DBU is, we actually threw pretty decent against them, but we couldn't run to save our lives. I mean, we had 30 yards rushing. I say 30 because I don't count the -7 for sacks because that's stupid. Just throwing that out there.
Okay. I would want my 23 to look better too.
They don't do it in the NFL, man. That's all I'm saying. They don't do that in the NFL.
If the script were flipped, would you be as adamant about this?
Oh, I've always been adamant about that. I've never liked the whole counting sacks as rushing.
I haven't either.
Stupid.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It super duper helps me on NCAA 14, so I don't care what you think.
If it's in the game, it's in the game.
That's it.
Well, anyway, I'm just going to say we played a top 5, top 10 team, top 7 or 8 team. And
we fell at the bottom of the barrel. Who knows? It all went downhill.
And we lost by 7, so we came back on them, and I feel like we are so close, as Brett Bielema used to say. But this is in year 1, so I feel like we're miles ahead of where we were year 1 with Coach B. So anyway.
All right, James, tell us about A&M's punter.
I'll get to it. Texas A&M did okay this week. They did not, as I suspected, they kept it a close game for most of the game, but somehow managed to get a fire in the fourth quarter and just push it out 17 points. But Mond actually did okay. He was approaching 70%. He went 19 for 28, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, and 1 rushing touchdown. So he was having a pretty good day in that respect. But if you were watching the game, you might not have noticed because he also threw 1 interception and had 1 horrendously stupid fumble.
Surprise guest!
I told you!
Surprise guest! You need a surprise guest!
While we get that settled, I think we.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. All right.
But did I not warn you guys? Did I not warn you guys?
You did.
All right.
Please.
All right. So anyway. So Kellen Mond again went 19, 28, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception and 1 rushing touchdown. However, Ole Miss kind of eclipsed us as far as the pass game went. Ta'amu went 22 for 35 and 373 yards, which, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous, but it makes sense given our secondary. As far as A&M is concerned, Travion had a beast of a game. came out and started looking like his old self, went 31 rushes for 228 yards and 1 touchdown, whereas we held Ole Miss to only 67 rush yards. And I think that was one of the major differences in the game.
Wait. Is that including sacks?
Yes, that is including sacks, which was only 4. It was only 4 yards. Texas A&M was 266 yards total on the ground out of 48 rushes, and that also includes our 11 yards of sacks or yards lost through fumbles or whatever. So now A&M Kellerman spread the ball around a little bit. Jace did Jace things, went 4 for 76 yards. Jamon Osborne made a big splash coming back. He went 5 catches for 66 yards. And Cam Buckley, he did pretty good with 4 catches for 55. Ole Miss had 2 outstanding receivers. They had A.J. Brown, who went 6 for 127, and DeMarcus Lodge, who went 6 for 122. Special teams, Braden Mann is just doing maintenance right now. He went 4 for 191, so averaging just under 48 yards a punt. He had a long of 63. So nothing to,
How many tackles?
0 tackles this week, as far as I remember.
Any interceptions?
If he was on the field while the ball was being thrown, I'm sure he'd make 1 or 2.
Heck yeah.
And then Seth Small had a pretty good week. He went 1 for 1 from 46, and then 5 for 5 on the extra points. Jashawn Corbin did well in the return game, 3 returns, 84 yards with a long of 36. However, our punt team did not do quite as well. Went 3 returns for -4 yards. Ole Miss's punter, he came close on the average. He averaged just about a yard shy of the man. He went 6 for 279. And as far as the defense is concerned, one stat that stuck out to me is Ole Miss was doing a lot of gang tackling. They had 86 tackles total to our 59, but they only had 86 total tackles to our 59, but they only had 34 solo tackles and we had 35. So they were getting a lot of one-on-one when they were on offense. However, A&M did better as far as sacks, QB hurries, passes defended. So that's pretty much the recap of the game. As far as points are concerned, they stayed pretty neck and neck throughout the entire game up until the 4th quarter, when Ole Miss only scored 3 and A&M scored 17. They went up late, and they finally did what Coach Fisher's been talking about, put the boot on the neck and keep it there. So that's my recap.
All right, then. The way to win a game, outclass the opposing team's punter. Rob, let's hear about Georgia and their big weekend.
Well, Georgia played a pretty good game against Auburn. Beat the Tigers, Eagles, Plainsmen, whatever the heck they are, 27-10. Despite the score only being 17 points, we killed them as far as total yardage. It was not even close. We played a pretty good game overall, but I have 2 main concerns. One, the biggest concern is our recent struggle with scoring when we are goal to go. We have a good red zone efficiency, but a lot of those are turning into field goals when we're goal to go. We just can't punch the ball in for whatever reason. You can call it play calling and call it whatever you want, but we just can't get the ball in. And it's becoming a problem. We can't have that going into the SEC championship or anybody that poses a real competition. So we need to get that under control. And the other thing is Kirby's got to figure out the whole Fromm and Fields thing, because I'm okay with him putting Fromm in from time to time, but he's trying to put Fields in to run first and second down, and then he brings Fields back in to run third down in the middle, in the same, it's like you just got to pick somebody to go all 4 downs. You can't it messes up the consistency. You got guys that are confused about. It's really hard to run an offense that way.
Right.
The only way I've seen where it can successfully work with a 2-quarterback system, it has worked, but typically it's done. There were cases where Florida did it, but generally speaking, I find it where you typically have one does the most of the possessions, and then one comes in every third or fourth possession to relieve him. But when you start going mid-possession and keep swapping them out, it throws off your offense. So I think that's two of the biggest things we need to shore up. But we're looking better each week. We're getting more balanced as an offense, and so I'm looking forward to the coming weeks.
All right, sounds good. One thing I will say is that if Kirby Smart really is running the 2-man system at quarterback, that's really a trademark of Saban. If you remember, I am the LSU guy, so I remember young Saban or younger Saban when he was only 1,000, and when he was at LSU, he ran a 2-quarterback system and won a national championship doing it with, I believe, either Matt Flynn or Matt Malk. I want to say it was Matt Flynn and Ryan Perrilloux coming in for running formations, almost like a wildcat type thing. And Kirby Smart is cut from the same cloth as Nick Saban, so yeah, as bad as the offense may look, it could very well lead them to another national championship berth. I don't think that to be the case this season because I don't see Georgia winning the SEC championship. I think that Alabama wins everything and then gets an offer to play in the NFL. But yeah, 2-quarterback systems can work. They just don't work consistently.
Can we go ahead and kill that whole thing about Alabama beating an NFL team? Because I mean, Alabama was a great football team, but anybody in the NFL would beat Alabama.
Even the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, yes.
Whatever, man.
Cleveland Browns.
You can put your money on Oakland all you want, but man, that's at least a close game. Now let's go on to the LSU football game. I didn't watch it. I'm still in mourning, and yeah, I can't blame myself for that. That was a understandable decision on my part, but yeah, LSU gets this big lead against Arkansas. I followed the game if I didn't watch it, and I remember seeing the score at 24-10, and I thought, okay, Arkansas is mounting a little bit of a comeback, but they should be okay. Just go ahead and finish the game. And then I look at the final, and it was 24-17, and I got increasingly glad that I didn't watch the game because, yeah, I would have started throwing things, and it just wouldn't have been good. Wouldn't have been good for anybody involved. So, I'm eminently pleased with myself for choosing that game to not watch. Although I am impressed with Joe Burrow's play. He actually had a respectable completion percentage, threw for a pretty good total of yards. I don't remember exactly what that was. And, yeah, apparently LSU got another interception, and that's a big deal because LSU has not played a game this season without getting an interception. I think that's their most impressive statistic. Like old JB was saying earlier, that's DBU. And yeah, apparently the front seven showed up to play except for the fourth quarter, which is encouraging. And yeah, Joe Burrow went 15 for 21 for 195 and a touchdown. And that touchdown was, believe it or not, a pass of longer than 5 yards to Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson managed to catch the ball. And yeah, pretty impressed. The punter, I doubt looked as good as A&M's. I forget his name, Braden Mann, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, he did a sufficient job for LSU to win the game. So, you know what? I'm impressed. We may not have outclassed them in the punting game, but we got the win. It was ugly. Like all of LSU's wins, they can't just go out and win a game unless they're playing against Georgia at home.
Ouch.
And so yeah, pretty good week. I didn't have to console myself in the shower after the game.
Ashton, one thing that I found out, I don't know if it was prior to y'all's game this weekend or if it was right after, but I was looking at the upcoming matchup between my Aggies and your Tigers, and I noticed that statistically, Kellen Mond is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow, and that just blew me away. He's got a better completion percentage, more yardage, a better touchdown to interception ratio, more rushing touchdowns. I'm pretty sure it was
that's surprising. The touchdown to interception ratio, because Burrow has only thrown like 4 this season, and that's not a large number. So really, what sticks out to me there is that Burrow's not throwing a lot of passing touchdowns. So,
yeah.
No, it's not a great looking offense. It's slow, it's ugly, and they just kind of churn out the yards down the field in between the 20s, and they drive down the field and do exactly what they need to do to win and no more. They're not flashy. It's not pretty. It's like watching Congress try to get something done, but in the end, it either works out or it don't, and you can move on and grit your teeth and say maybe next year. Promise yourself that, and go through the same process next year. And LSU can't develop a quarterback, but Burrow has looked progressively better every week that he's played, and I'm encouraged by that. Encouraged by the fact that we got a 5-star recruit commit to LSU this week, and I'm encouraged by a lot that's happening at LSU. One thing that LSU doesn't have this year that they've had in years past is a star running back. This offense reminds me a little bit of that 2011 offense that went to the national championship, minus Jordan Jefferson. So we have Jarrett Lee standing back there and looking good enough, but the guy that we're handing off to is basically Spencer Ware. He's not great. He's just reliable. He'll get you 2 or 3 yards every time you hand him the ball, but that's not enough. And so maybe we'll get another Jeremy Hill or Leonard Fournette in the future and look better. But another 10, 15 years, we'll compete with Alabama. All right, let's go on to the scores from around the SEC this week. Had it pulled up here just a second ago. Give me just another second because I'm dumb. This is where you disagree with me.
You're an LSU fan, man. There's not. You're making a hard case against yourself. Also, excuse me while I screen share for just a moment.
Your excuse.
Check this out right here. 42% to 57.3. That is the chance that Texas A&M is going to beat LSU.
Is it in College Station?
It is.
Okay.
What is the spread?
I'm not sure. They should have it around here somewhere.
You have to go back to the.
Nope. Over under money line spread. Don't have it yet, apparently.
Okay.
It'll open up like Sunday night or something.
Yeah. Either way. Wait, Sunday night game. Oh, right. It's next week, not this week. This week we're playing UAB.
Yeah.
Right.
The spread is like 41 for that. So.
At any rate, I don't really care. LSU will either lose or they'll win, and I'll get on with my life because I'm done with it this season. LSU did win this past Saturday. They beat Arkansas by a score of 24-17. Mississippi State went to Tuscaloosa and got beat this week by Alabama 24-0, and that spread doesn't look that bad. It looks like Mississippi State did a lot to stop Tua, except when you realize that Tua was playing injured and Alabama kind of took their foot off the pedal. It makes a little more sense. Mississippi State really didn't stop Alabama. They just ran into some fortuitous situations. So Kentucky travels to Knoxville and loses a route to Tennessee, which is kind of hilarious. The East is cannibalizing itself, and Georgia is the only team that's really emerged unscathed to this point. Tennessee beats Kentucky 24-7, and you know what, James? It's getting harder and harder to not sell Kentucky. Florida hosts South Carolina, and South Carolina puts up a better fight in the swamp than did LSU. 31-35 is the final. Florida wins. Missouri hosts Vanderbilt and beats Vanderbilt by a score of 33-28. Texas A&M holds off the Ole Miss Rebel Bulldogs, and that by a score of 38-24. Georgia hosts, I believe this is called the Battle Between the Hedges, right? Ain't that what that rivalry is called?
Which
Deep
one?
South's oldest rivalry.
Are you talking about Auburn? Yes, it's Deep South old rivalry.
Yeah. At any rate, that one, Georgia wins by a score of 27-10. And yeah, that takes care of all of last week's scores. Do y'all have anything really to add?
With last week's scores?
Yep.
I'm still baffled about Kentucky losing to Tennessee.
Yeah, that was a little bit ridiculous. That game
I
score
saw it.
looked uglier than the Kentucky and Georgia game.
I mean, that's one of the ones that I picked against what everybody else was picking, and finally Kentucky proved me right. I guess they proved me right when they played Georgia, but they just proved me right again. So,
All right,
The hatred grows deep within you.
James is a prophet. Let's move on.
I could at
then.
least say that this is the best Kentucky team since like Bear Bryant was the coach.
oh yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing that the Kentucky team is a good team. I just knew that they weren't as high as everybody was high on them about. They weren't doing as well as everybody was up on them for, and it was, I mean, I've seen it in the past, especially with A&M going into the first ever CFP ranking at number 4. I was like, what are you guys smoking? I mean, as excited as I was for that to be the case, I knew it wasn't, accurate. And I kind of got that same gut feeling.
You did not. Kentucky comes into College Station and puts up as good a fight as Clemson did.
Ooh.
No, Clemson did not play up to their ability, and we did play up to ours.
Okay, so we're making excuses for Clemson instead of acknowledging that Kentucky was a good team. That's fine. At any rate,
I will say Clemson was still trying to find a quarterback at that point.
I just said Kentucky is a good team. They're just not as good as everybody was saying, and now they're finally proving me right.
and
That's all I was saying.
All right, let's move on. It's not going anywhere.
Clemson is a bad team as well. As bad as Kentucky. At any rate, let's go on to
What?
No.
No.
You can't just say that and move on.
We'll get to that later. One of the questions has to do with Clemson.
We are addressing this now.
Hey, okay.
Okay.
Here's one of the questions. All right, Nathan Alexander Forrester says.
No. This is not something we're just going to walk on by. No,
I know.
Kentucky is on the same level as Clemson.
No.
Listen to me.
Ashton, have you ever watched Futurama?
Yes, I have. Yes.
You know the robot Bender?
Yes.
You're his cousin Twister because you love to twist words, man.
I do?
It happens every week. Every week.
Hey,
man.
look, the reason why I was moving to that question because Clemson was going to be my answer to that question. So
I don't know what the question was, but
Clemson
all right, go
has
on.
definitely
Go
been
on ahead.
getting
Here we go. Nathan Alexander Forrester says, what teams will give Bama the best first round playoff game? I think OU would be the most interesting game. Michigan, I think, will be like the LSU game. What do y'all think? Well, I misread that. I was thinking that Clemson was going to end up in the national championship against Bama, and I think that they're the only team in college football that can compete with Bama.
But can we all agree that we're tired of seeing that game? It's like,
We are.
I mean,
Clemson is the only team in college football that I hate more than I hate Alabama.
But they're way better.
I hate
than
Clemson.
Like,
But yes, they're way better.
The beginning of the year, they were still trying to figure out who was going to be their quarterback. They had this number one recruited quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and they were trying to figure him out, and they had Kelly Bryant, who had taken them so far, and yeah, so like they were still on this 2-quarterback system, and as Steve Spurrier says, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. Let's hear James's wrong answer.
No, I mean, I think that Clemson would definitely give him the best fight. I mean, I was, I mean, Texas A&M definitely put up a good fight against them, and I don't think they were playing up to their best when we played them. And I think that they've shown themselves to be improving throughout the year, especially, you know, as JB mentioned, getting the quarterback situation figured out. I think OU would be interesting because they've got no defense and they've got a high-powered offense. So it would just be interesting to see how that played out. And then about halfway through the game, we'd probably be bored of it. So honestly, I think the most interesting game would be UCF versus Alabama.
Oh.
And I say that because everybody would finally find out
Everybody loves
paying with the big dogs.
Everybody loves watching, you know, grown men kick puppies. That's just interesting to watch. All right, Rob.
All right. These aren't exactly puppies. These are young dogs with the bad attitudes that keep crapping on the rug and peeing in your laundry.
They're Chihuahua. All right. Rob, what you got?
Oh, that's great.
Well, first of all, I don't think UCF has a chance to go to the playoffs this year, as evidenced by them still being not in the top 10. And there's 2 lost teams ahead of them right now. I mean, they're just not giving them any respect. So you can debate about what you'd want to see, what should be, but they're not going to put them in this year. If they continue to go undefeated for the next 4 years, they might, because the controversy of it. But I mean, after a certain point. But I'm just hoping they lose this weekend. With that said, I think. I agree with James. I think OU would be fun for a little bit, but I think it would be similar. I mean, we kind of saw the SEC versus Big 12 last year with Georgia and Oklahoma, but I think it would be slightly different. I think it'd be interesting to see how Bama's defense could do against their offense, because the crazy thing is that Bama's weak area of their defense is their secondary. So, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't know how that play out. So, I mean, it'd be interesting, but James may be right. It might get boring after a while. Just depending on how it goes. I think Clemson would be probably the best matchup for Bama, simply because I think even when their offense struggles, and I think they found a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I would debate that he was the number 2 quarterback in the country. Justin Fields is number 1, but that's different polls. No, I think even when Clemson's offense struggles, I think their defense just is really good. I mean, they had some struggles against Boston College, but they're on offense, but their defense stood strong. So I think that would be. I really don't want to see it because I'm sick and tired of seeing the 2 of them play in the playoffs. Like, it's just annoying at this point.
I agree.
Like, I'd almost rather see any other matchup but them. Right. But as far as if we're looking for not what we want to see, but what would probably be the best matchup for Bama and the best chance to beat them, then I'd say Clemson.
Well, not so fast, okay? I kind of like the idea of the Bama and Clemson rivalry happening every year, because none of us – hear me out, bro. None of us were, like, really around. I think I might have been around for the tail end of it, but I was a baby and don't remember it. But none of us were actually watching when the Celtics and the Lakers kept meeting in the NBA Finals. And it's just it's cool.
Apples and oranges.
No, well, just listen to it. No, this is something that could turn into something that's like historical and legendary, and we're witnessing it, man.
No,
it's just
Cool
like
story,
the cat.
But the Celtics and the Lakers won their playoff brackets to get to that point. They were the legitimate best teams in the country.
And they were that way for like decades. I mean, it wasn't like
it
wasn't a committee putting them together.
Right. I mean, come on. That's apples and oranges, man.
To add to that, I think that is the best argument for expanding the playoff, because if you've got a wider playoff, you've got Clemson playing more high-tier competition and more of a chance to get knocked out, and the same with Alabama. So I think if Alabama and Clemson meet again in the playoffs, if not, especially if they meet in the finals again, I think the committee is definitely going to take a long look at expanding the playoff and seeing if they can shift up the regular season. So, I mean, I almost kind of hope that it happens again, which, I mean, it's looking like it's going to. So,
wow, you know how long it takes them to change something like that?
Yeah.
Well, it's only slightly quicker than Congress. Okay. So here's my argument for why Clemson sucks as a football team and should be ashamed of itself. Week 1, Clemson plays Furman and beats them 48-7. Week 2, Clemson plays a legitimate opponent and almost goes into overtime, but for a bad officiating call in College Station. Week 3, they play Georgia Southern, that powerhouse. Week 4, they play the powerhouse of Georgia Tech. Week 5, they almost lose to Syracuse. Week 6,
who's ranked?
They play. Syracuse was not ranked.
But they're ranked number 10 now.
Okay, then we'll say Syracuse is the strongest team they've played. All right, I'll give you that one.
Okay.
Then they play Wake Forest. Then they play NC State. Then they play Florida State. And then they play Louisville. And they beat Boston College. And now they have Duke, one of the weakest teams in the East, and South Carolina, and a to be determined, which is the ACC championship game. Let's give them Kentucky's schedule and see if they're still ranked number 2. I'll give them Kentucky's schedule and see if they win those games. When the toughest teams that you play are Texas A&M and Syracuse, then no, you have no right to claim that you're the best team in the country. You just don't. And that's not to knock Texas A&M, but Texas A&M is one of the easier teams in the West that Alabama will play this year. Right? It goes Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. That's how it goes.
In our defense, we have the smallest spread of any team that's played them thus far this season.
I'm not trying to knock that, but what I'm saying is A&M is nowhere near the toughest opponent that Alabama has played, and it is the toughest opponent that Clemson has played. And they played Texas A&M about like Kentucky played Texas A&M. So, no, I am not sold on Clemson being a legitimate contender. However, because of their weak schedule, they're in sort of a UCF situation, and they're going to get in because they're in a Power 5 conference. And, you know, they're probably going to play Alabama because they have a pretty solid front four, and that's going to carry them, right? That's what's carrying them on defense. Their secondary is nothing spectacular. Their linebacking core is nothing spectacular. But they have a solid front four, and their offense isn't awful. So, you know, they're doing well for the teams that they're playing. They're playing, you know, that powerhouse in Louisville and Florida State. So, yeah, of course they look good. They look like a good football team, but they're not. They are not a good football team, and they're going to play Alabama and get curb stomped. No. So the team that offers the best challenge to Alabama this season is the Oakland Raiders, and nobody else has a shot. Nobody else.
Wow. Okay. With that said, since that was completely useless,
thank you.
If we can get
seriously, a team like Oklahoma with an offense, a team like I don't know, a team like Texas Tech built the same way with an air raid offense that can match points because Alabama's secondary really is weak, would be able to compete, right? There's no team in the SEC that's really done that to Alabama. All you need is a really good offensive line and really good receivers and a guy with a strong arm. Just chunk it deep and let your receivers do their job. Their secondary is always weak. Their front seven is the best in the country because, that's Alabama. That's what they hang their hat on. But they struggle against quarterbacks like Johnny Manziel, like who was the guy who played for Clemson who was really good?
When
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson.
They struggled with Deshaun Watson. They struggled with the Taj feller. They struggled with all of the mobile
State
quarterbacks that they've played. When you have a successful passing attack, you can compete with Alabama. And in all fairness, Oakland does not have a successful passing attack, so maybe they wouldn't stand a chance either. But yeah, I don't see Clemson doing it. I don't think that they are good enough on offense. I don't think that they are good enough on defense. And I think that Clemson is the result, right? The sum product of an easy schedule in an easy conference that's still considered a Power 5 conference.
So
they have flipped. They used to be, in my opinion, the second best, but they've become the worst conference, in my opinion. It's just you have Clemson, and that's pretty much it nowadays.
At this point, yeah. And Syracuse. Don't forget Syracuse. They're a solid team.
So if we can move away from Alabama just for a minute, and I'm just
thank God.
I was just sitting there thinking about So I'm just going ahead and removing Georgia, assuming that they're not going to make it because if they lose the SEC championship, we're just going on that assumption. If between the three, I mean, we pretty much know that Alabama and Clemson are going to be in the playoff. So between the three remaining teams of what currently looks like they're going to be in, between Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Michigan, what do y'all think is the best matchup between the three, like two playing each other?
OU, definitely.
It's got to be
against who though?
It's OU. OU and Bama.
Oh, the best.
No. Between those three.
Okay, the best
OU and Notre
play
Dame.
each other.
Easily Michigan and Notre Dame. Easily. Michigan and Notre Dame, that's a revenge game. Michigan dropped that one week 1. That's a fun game. I think that's the best matchup in the playoff, potentially. But, I don't know that that'll happen.
Usually rematches favor the previous loser, though.
Right. So
that's true.
That's why I was kind of thinking I wouldn't mind seeing like an OU Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be an interesting game.
Strength against strength, a good offense against a good defense.
I think Michigan would come out ahead on that one.
I do too.
Because Michigan still has an offense.
Yeah, they have an SEC quarterback.
So
just saying.
I just wanted to throw that out.
Shea Patterson.
Just out of curiosity, but
yeah. Well, I'm sorry, y'all. I kind of hijacked the question segment, but let's
just kind of
only a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kyle Warnock asks, and this is going to be the last question that we get this evening because I'm rude. Unless y'all want to go over an hour.
No,
we're good.
Last one.
If y'all want to, okay.
Last one.
Kyle Warnock asks, obviously Alabama is a dynasty right now, but he means y'all, but do y'all believe that college football is all about the same powerhouse programs competing every year for the national championship? Or do you think other schools, Arkansas, A&M, Missouri as examples, still have the opportunity to land big-name recruits and compete for titles? Is college football too top-heavy?
So I think with that, I mean, you look at recruiting is cyclical. I mean, yes, Bama is on top. Yes, Bama is a dynasty, and I think they're going to continue to be good as long as Saban's there. But you can always, I mean, other than this year, there have been teams that have competed with Bama throughout the years. I mean, it's not this year they just happen to be dominant. I don't think they're going to be astronomically dominant, forever. I don't think that's going to happen. I think other teams are going to continue to recruit. I think it's going to become competitive again. Everybody gets this like Bama's ruining football thing, and I'm just like, I don't buy into all that. I think it'll come back around. Now, with that said, I think it's becoming more. It is a little top heavy in the sense that I think not as many teams are going to be able to compete, because if you look at, you're getting the same teams right now that are consecutively getting top 10 classes. Now you're getting a few, like A&M's creeping in there more towards the top of the top currently with Jimbo. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I mean, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, those three have been in the top 5 the last 3-4 years. Like it's consistent. And then you go down the line. It's like after you get out of the top 10, it kind of shifts from year to year. There's less consistency. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out. But I do think it's a little bit top heavy, but I don't buy into the whole Alabama's ruining the NCAA football and that it's all doomed, and people were so quick to jump into stuff. And I mean I understand people hating Bama, but that's a little too far.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree with Rob there. And I mean, if you look at the current 2019 standings, which I mean, it may be a little bit early, it may be a little bit of jumping the gun. Alabama is at the top. Texas A&M, as poorly as we've played this season, is pretty close behind. Oregon is number 4. Texas is number 7. Florida State is number 10. So, I mean, if you're looking at all this, Ohio State is down at number 13. You got Penn State 14, Tennessee 15, Arkansas 16. So if you're looking in the top 25, it's pretty LSU dominant. But, I mean, you get towards the bottom of the top 25, you've got teams like Nebraska, NC State, Miami. You got Purdue at number 25. So there's plenty of teams getting good recruiting classes that aren't in the SEC. And you've got other teams that aren't necessarily in power now that are chomping at Alabama's heels. I mean, yeah, they've got a good system, and yeah, they're hard to knock off, but Clemson has proved that it's possible, and they've done it coming up in one of the, what has been one of the declining conferences in the NCAA. I mean, this season they didn't have a whole lot of stiff competition, and I guess when it gets time when the playoffs come around, we'll see how they do then, and we'll really know if they're a standout or if they're just a product of their conference. But all that is to say that I don't think Alabama is kind of locking all the smaller schools out, as I pointed out with all those other schools. And I do think that they do have stiff recruiting competition. And you have to think a lot of it is also location, because that's a big thing in a recruit's mind. It's not just like, oh yeah, coaches can go all over the country and get anybody to come to their school no matter where they're from. You really start in your area and work your way out from there. And occasionally you'll get a student who's a long way from home, but it's not that often. So I think that has a little bit to do with it as well, your geographical location and the pedigree of your recruits that are coming up in that area. So I think the high school scene has a lot to play into that. I don't really follow the high school scene too much, but I think that has a lot to play into it and how the high schools are doing from year to year. But also, there's a lot of variation in that. So I don't think Alabama's locking anybody out, and I think we may see some shift here in a few years.
Well,
and
to his point, sorry.
I was just gonna say one more thing, JB.
Go ahead, bro.
I think it was crazy about this year is that if you look at the current recruits for the 2019 class, there is currently 35 stars. Never seen that before. There's never been even close to that that I can recall. So either one or two things has happened. Either they've completely changed the way that they classify recruits, which I doubt that's the case. Or the most likely thing is that the talent's just continuing to grow and grow. And I think so you're going to have more spread talent because one team is not going to get, 10 5-star. Just I don't care who you are, you're not going to get that many. It's just, Georgia had like 7 last year, but that was about as many as you can kind of – you're not going to get many more than that because players are spread out. People are going to go – they're going to go where they have the best – players nowadays, they want to go where they have the best chance to go play on Sundays. And that's the reason why Alabama is such a big pull because Saban sends a lot of players to the pros. Hate Alabama or love them. He does that successfully. Right. So that's a huge pull for him.
Well,
go
ahead, JB.
To Kyle's point, he wasn't just talking about Bama. He was talking about the powerhouses of college football. You're talking the Bamas, the Ohio States, finally Michigan is in the mix, which I'll get to that point in just a second. USC, has been in there before and has kind of gotten down. The Florida State's down. Clemson is up. Supposedly Texas is back. But Oklahoma is to me, Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State are your 4, and Georgia now has gotten themselves back into the mix. If you had asked me 3 years ago if the powerhouses are going to continue to be the dominant forces in college football, I would have said absolutely yes, because statistics would tell you that in order, like you could look back at the national championship winners, and every single one of them had a top 5 recruiting class at one point in the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. And those are all the powerhouse football teams. The thing is, though, and I'll throw this as an outlier, I know because Ole Miss fans are going to say they had a top 5 recruiting class, but they cheated to get that. But the way that it's changed, though, is
bold of you to assume nobody else is.
Huh?
Bold of you to assume nobody else is cheating.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Even the big powerhouses are cheating, but they just.
I had a coach in high school who said, "If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying."
That's true. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying.
Let's not start on that.
Yeah, we're not going there. We're not going there right now. You made me lose my train of thought, man. Okay.
Top 5 recruiting classes.
Here we go. The new rule, though, with the new transfer rule to where you can play 4 games and still use that as a redshirt year, and then you can transfer. To me, that's going to open up the doors for these smaller schools who have not been a traditional powerhouse to step up, because you're going to get players who may not be the best in the country, but they may be the most experienced and can get you to the next level and can catch you on your heels and win a game when it matters, like somebody like Kelly Bryant or somebody like Cam Newton. They're going to just take somebody whose season has been playing, and he comes in as a transfer and just wreaks havoc. And that can happen in a smaller school. Clemson loses somebody like Kelly Bryant, or Florida loses somebody like Cam Newton, and you don't know what's going to happen. So I feel like that rule change has kind of leveled the playing field a little bit because it's going to spread the wealth of great athletes. If you couldn't catch them before in the recruiting trail at first, you may catch them, at the right time in the right place. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, let's make it 4 with mine. There are 3 teams. The college football playoff was inaugurated in the year 2014, right? So in the year 2014, we have this amazing announcement that the college football playoff is going to come, and it's going to be this massive renovation to college football, and everything is going to change. And, all of the powerhouses that we knew and loved would be challenged on a grander scale with a playoff. We'd have a true champion, and there'd be no question as to who the best team in the country was. Since that point, we are now 4 years down the road, and there are 3 teams who have won national championships. And, I'll give you 3 guesses as to who those are. It's Alabama,
Clemson, and Auburn.
Ohio State. Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State.
And Alabama.
And Alabama again. Yeah. So let's look at the schools with multiple appearances. Washington appeared 1 time. Oregon appeared 1 time. Florida State appeared 1 time. Georgia appeared 1 time. Michigan State appeared 1 time. Alabama has been there all 4 years. Ohio State and Oklahoma have both been there twice, and Clemson has been there thrice. So, yeah, I would say college football is awful top-heavy. Now, is this a good or bad thing? I'm not going to venture to say that it's good or bad. In the 90s, it was Florida and Florida State. Shortly after that, it became USC. The U was in there somewhere. Dynasties happen. The big programs happen. This is why we have blue blood college football programs, right? That's why you have all of the tradition at Notre Dame. That's why you have all the tradition at Nebraska and schools like Auburn and Michigan, USC. I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. I think it's like the climate. Sometimes you go through an ice age, and sometimes the earth warms up. I don't see there being anything to change this. Right now, we're in the era of Clemson and Alabama. In 20 years, who knows? I don't know who it'll be, but who knows? Can small schools compete with these? Not consistently, no. College football is and always has been top-heavy, and Arkansas was never in a position to beat Miami when they were at their height. Teams like Nebraska were never in a position to beat Alabama. Small schools can't do it, be it because they don't have the opportunity or because they can't make it happen. It just doesn't happen. That's what I'm thinking. College football is top-heavy, and I think to a certain degree it's supposed to be. You have the UFC, and in every weight class, there's so many fighters, but there's only 3 or 4 who are actually fighting for a title, and nobody complains about that. You have so-and-so fighting so-and-so, and that's the big-ticket matchup. You have Conor McGregor fighting Khabib, and everybody else doesn't matter. Beyond that, it's all gravy. And maybe those fighters rise to the top, maybe they don't, but that's for another day. This is Alabama's day and Clemson's day and Oklahoma's day. They are your dynasties. They are the ones who are going to continue to compete. The small schools can't compete with them consistently. Now, there may be a one-off year with a Cam Newton or somebody like that who takes Auburn all the way, but I don't see that happening consistently. So, any thoughts from you fellers?
Well, it could happen. This is what I was trying to say. I don't think it would ever happen consistently. But I'm just saying it's not that they're going to dominate every single year. I think there's going to be every few years you're going to see somebody come out of the woodwork and just, and win it all. And I think you're going to start seeing that now, especially with the new rule change.
Sure.
And Sorry about that.
Well, I'll agree with you there. It can happen, and Cam Newton proved that at Auburn, right? There's the dethroning of Alabama, and then going on to dethrone Oregon and winning a national championship in a one-off year. So yeah, it can happen. They can compete with them, but not consistently. Is the point that I was trying to make. The rich get richer, and the poor stay poor. You know, on-field success translates to recruiting success, generally speaking. Arkansas they have got a lot of faith in a new head coach that's hopefully going to turn that program around, and they're looking forward to on-field success that they are believing in. They are not going to go to Arkansas to be 2-8, right? They're going to Arkansas in the hopes that 2-8 record looks a lot better when they get there. They can make a difference in that. On-field success always translates to recruiting success, and generally speaking, right? That's not true in every single instance, right? You'll have somebody who will come from Louisiana and say, you know what, I want to play for the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs if it's the last thing I do, and those outliers exist, but they are few and far between. Generally speaking, the top talent goes to the top schools, and it makes college football top heavy, but to a certain degree, I think college football is supposed to be top heavy. And it's not fun to watch David beat Goliath if there's no Goliath. Right? There's no great second half comeback with Cam Newton against Alabama if Alabama isn't good. If Alabama isn't good enough to be up by 21 points, then that game doesn't mean anything. Right? Heisman moments exist for a reason. Johnny Manziel toppled Alabama at Alabama. Right? That's what these people are known for. They're known for their moments against these top-heavy schools. So I think that pretty much answers the question, or we attempted to at least. And I'll tell you what, I'll save the questions that are remaining for next week. Sorry about hijacking the stream, but let's go on to our picks for this Saturday. JB, we're going to start with you. Who have you got? Rice is traveling to LSU, that powerhouse in Rice.
Yeah, our old Southwest Conference rival. I think, LSU's going to take this one pretty easily. What was the spread is 42?
It's plus 40. I didn't see how much higher than 40.
They might cover the spread because LSU might not be able to score that many points. But yeah, I don't think Rice is going to even compete in that game.
Thought you didn't care anymore.
No, I don't. I'm thinking. But James, does you know what? We'll ask it this way: Does Rice cover?
I mean, I have not been paying any attention to Rice, so I mean, let me flip a coin. No, Rice doesn't cover.
Okay, Rob, does Rice cover?
That's such a tough one, man. No.
All right, I am the lone LSU fan, and I think that JB agrees with me. I'm going to say Rice does cover. I don't think LSU is capable of beating anybody by more than 40 points. I don't think that. It's not going to be a close game by any stretch, but I don't think it'll be a 42-point game either. Tops, it'll be like 35 to 7 or 35 to 0. So, with that said, I don't even see a line for this one. Maybe they're not. I don't see a spread for Alabama and Citadel. So
51.5.
51.5. I don't know where you found that, but I can't see it.
55 or something.
Okay, we'll go with 51.5. Does the Citadel cover?
Man. Do they cover?
One of the questions we had this week was, would it be a good idea for Saban to sit Tua? So,
he's not sitting Tua.
He already basically said he's not.
Well, the thing is, I mean, why would you sit somebody a week and make him cold for 2 weeks before he has to play against?
Well, there's an argument, but there's also an argument for taking his knee that's already injured.
His knee has taken a licking at LSU and against Mississippi State. So, like, I could see an argument for both sides. But at any rate, we'll have two answers. One, does the Citadel cover with Tua? Does the Citadel cover without Tua?
They ain't covering with Tua. I'll tell you that. Without Tua, yeah, they'll cover. I mean, the Citadel can surprise some people. I can tell you that for sure. Arkansas lost to them the first year that we got into the SEC. I was 6 years old. Go.
Okay. Well, before we rip off some old childhood trauma band-aids, James, let's hear it. Does the Citadel cover with Tua, and does the Citadel cover without Tua?
With Tua, no. Without Tua, yeah. Because I mean, they're probably gonna take it easy with their third stringer, and just the way that Saban came at the media for asking about that, it kind of gets on your nerves because I mean, I get the whole rat poison statement. I understand getting mad, but he's like the Donald Trump of college football. He absolutely hates anything and everything the media has to say. It's fake news.
To be fair, let's
ask stupid questions to get stupid answers.
That's true.
Let's be fair and give credit where credit is due. Trump is a Bill Belichick knockoff, right? Bill Belichick is the one who started this. He's like, I hate the media and everything that they stand for. And then Trump is like, hey, that guy's got his stuff together. So,
am I sitting Tua? No, of course not. That's fake news. Look at these hands. Do these hands look like they would lie?
All right.
All righty then. Yeah.
That went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Rob, have you got the Citadel covering or not covering? Are they going to lose by 50?
They don't cover either way.
Okay.
That's
no explanation needed. They just
and that's rubbing some salt in the wound for the
one-liners.
Citadel. Yep. I love it. He's just short, sweet, and to the point. And he just sticks the knife in, twists it, and let go. But no, the Citadel doesn't cover either way. I'm agreeing with you, Rob. Your one-liners are sufficient reason for me. So Idaho travels to Florida, and I don't have a line on this one either. Do y'all have it?
I've got them all, man.
All right. What's the spread?
40.
Okay. Does Florida cover in this one?
No, man. Florida can't score 40 points.
I mean,
have you seen
Idaho
their
might
offense?
not show up.
Like,
And who knows? Idaho could throw like 5 pick sixes.
they've got Paul Petrino there coaching them, so they may get something. They may catch lightning in the bottle. But no, I don't. They're not going to score 40 points. They're not going to outscore them by 40. So yeah, but Florida wins, but it won't be that bad.
Sure. James, does Florida cover?
I mean, against my better judgment, I'm gonna go with they cover.
Picking Florida by more than 40, but not Alabama by more than 50 without Tua. It's an interesting call. I like it. Got to take some chances. Rob, does Idaho cover? It is Idaho. Who is it? Yeah, Idaho. Does Idaho cover?
So are we asking if Florida covers or Idaho covers?
Either way,
It's
man.
the same question.
Well,
Yeah, it's the same question.
Just in reverse. Does
Right.
Florida cover the point spread, or does Idaho cover the point spread, man?
no, Florida does not cover. I think Felipe is just not moving the offense, man. They got the talent, but I think you bring in either develop him more or get him the heck out of there and get somebody in there that can run that offense. Because he's too much of a – he's got talent, but he's just not – I don't even know what his problem is. He just can't seem to kind of get it going.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, for the second time in a row, I'm agreeing with you, Rob. I say Florida wins by 39 and not 40. The Mid-Tennessee State travels to Kentucky, with Kentucky being favored by 16 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Does Kentucky cover against Mid-Tennessee? JB?
Yeah, that's a very low point spread. Yeah, I think they're going to cover that, and yeah, probably by at least 20.
All right, James.
Yeah, I mean, I've been down on Kentucky, but they're not that bad. I mean, yeah, of course Kentucky covers this one. Yeah.
All right, Rob.
Yeah, Kentucky covers. Come on.
All right.
We're talking about, this is why I said on the tavern, except for the exception of, 3-4 games, it's almost a pointless pick 'em week. Like, we all know we should have probably picked whether they were going to cover the spread on all instead of actually picking the games, because we know, it's a gimme week for some of them.
For most of them.
Agree with that.
That's what I said for almost all of them.
That's one of the questions from this week too, and I want to address that later. But yeah, we'll go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying Kentucky doesn't cover. I'm saying that Kentucky does win, but they have trouble moving the ball up and down the field. Their defense does it for them, but they only win by a score of 21-7 or something similar to that. All right, okay. Let's hear it. Arkansas travels to Starkville. JB, are they going to cover the 21.5 point spread?
First of all, I'm going to say that they are covering the 21.5 point spread.
Okay.
Because Mississippi State, their offense is atrocious. I mean, I think I'm picking Arkansas to win this game. To be honest, really? Yes.
I like that
because of what happened last week with LSU. We can play against a top tier defense like that, and I mean, I think LSU is a better team than Mississippi State, even though Mississippi State apparently played Alabama better. That's only because Alabama was putting a lot of their stock into LSU, and so they're kind of lax the next week, in my opinion. I think we go into Starkville and we catch them on their toes because, we are in between Alabama and Ole Miss, the toughest team they play and the biggest rival that they play.
Right.
I don't think the thing about Arkansas, so I think we're going to win it. So
right. Okay. James, do you agree?
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
And if you don't believe me, you can check my comment. Posted it 3 hours ago. It is unedited. I picked Arkansas to win this one. Now, if they do win, while I will feel good that I was right, I'll also feel a little bit embarrassed at how badly we lost to Mississippi State. But at the same time, as JB has mentioned, as poorly as they have played as a whole, they've been playing better and better each week. And as he mentioned last week against LSU, they showed up. Or their game versus LSU, they showed up. So yeah, I'm going with Arkansas for this one.
All right, Rob, let's hear yours.
I got Mississippi State in a close one. Like Corso does. No, I think Arkansas is continually playing better. I think they're going to put up a fight, but I just think, Mississippi State's offense does struggle, apparently, except for against A&M.
Well, is that
not wrong.
Offense struggling or A&M's defense?
Well, hold on. What I'm saying is, I think that Mississippi State's offense will move the ball enough to overcome Arkansas, but I do think it'll be a close one. I think it'll probably be maybe a 10-point game, 7-10, somewhere in there. Close, but not like field goal close.
Consensus: take Arkansas on the points, man. Just take Arkansas on the points. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll take Arkansas on the points, but I agree they'll cover. But Mississippi State's defense, especially at home, is going to be too much to overcome. Mississippi State has, I think, one of the top 4 defenses in the SEC. they are legit on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, it's not as pretty. They can't throw the ball, but their running attack is actually nothing to sneeze at. So unless Arkansas can keep them from gaining, 4 or 5 yards a carry, Arkansas is in for a long, long day. And they have the potential to do it. I don't know that they will, but I do think that they cover the point spread. I've got Mississippi State by about 10. So, again, agreeing with Rob, it's getting a little weird. Although I do feel a little bit weird about picking against James so much, being as he's a prophet. And now we come to
a profit that's only barely plus 50 on the pickup on the season.
It's okay. Our picks are predetermined, man. It's okay.
That's true. I think Ashton's the only one who's even close to the top 10 right now.
Okay, so the first really interesting game of the week, we have Missouri traveling to Tennessee. Who you got, gentlemen? Starting with JB.
Tennessee is actually underdog in this one at +6. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I would have thought that after playing Kentucky last week the way they did, I would have thought they would have been favored. But I'm picking Mizzou, man. I think that. Wait, did I? No, sorry. I picked Tennessee. Sorry, yeah. I think
we'll forgive you.
Yeah, I think the defense is. I've done this before and I got burned, but I'm doing it again. I'm picking defense over offense. I think Pruitt's got these guys ready for them, and it's Mizzou. It's not like they're playing a huge powerhouse.
Right.
I say that as somebody who's playing Mizzou next week. We'll see what happens there. But I got Tennessee in this one in a upset.
JB hoping for a losing streak for Mizzou. James, who you got?
Yeah, I picked Mizzou in this one. They've been playing pretty hard, and I think they only lost to Kentucky by 1 point, and I'm pretty sure Tennessee just beat them, right? Or just beat Kentucky this past week, right?
Yes, it was. And it wasn't a close game.
Bad, very bad.
Yeah. So I mean, I honestly think Kentucky's just gotten air knocked out of them, and they're like, our run's done, and they're just kind of demoralized. And so I think that's probably why they're playing a little bit worse. So I still think Mizzou has the better shot at this game.
Okay. All right. Rob?
Well, I think this will be an interesting matchup. I think with Tennessee playing better, I think they're playing better than, probably the best so far on the season. But I do think I agree with James. I think Kentucky's a little deflated. I think that's part of the reason why they lost. So I don't think I don't think either team's going to run away with this. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do think it's a close game. But I did pick Mizzou.
Coming out with the headgear. I like how you're picking helmets and not mascot heads, because it's like trying to a little bit different than Corso.
Well, it's because I can't find one, because who cares about Missouri?
That's a good question. It's legitimately a good question. The Big 12 obviously didn't.
It was easy to find. It was easy to find the Alabama head.
Right.
It was easy to find that because Corso's put that on, but
right.
Yeah.
Well,
game didn't never go to Missouri because no one cares.
The SEC was like, give us Texas A&M, I guess, but we have to make it balanced. Who you got that you don't?
To be fair, Corso does put helmets on sometimes.
He does.
That is true.
So
I haven't seen that. So.
He has.
But yeah, it's like semi-pro when they traded him for a washing machine. But
we really needed that washing machine too. Monix!
I've got Missouri winning this one, and I think they cover. It's a 6-point spread, so
Yeah.
I've got them winning by a touchdown or 10 points. Tennessee did look better last week, but I do think that psychology comes into this a lot, and they played a deflated Kentucky team who had very little to play for anymore. And Tennessee, while they're looking better, does not have enough in the tank to string together two really, really solid wins. I'm saying that they keep it close all game, and then Missouri maybe tries to pull away in the end. We have UMass coming to Georgia. JB, do you have a spread on that one?
41.
It's 41.
Yeah.
Is it 41? Wow,
Yes.
that's sad. You know what? Does everybody just agree that Georgia's going to cover?
I think they cover. Georgia covers.
What about
that
you,
one.
James?
James, UMass is 4-7, man. Come on.
Yeah. No. Georgia's covering.
Okay, so we're all taking Georgia in this one, and UMass is in for a long Saturday afternoon. Okay, Auburn hosts Liberty. What's the point spread there?
It is what was it? I just had it. 28.5.
Okay, so 28.5. Does everybody pretty much agree that Auburn's going to cover there?
No, not
Yeah.
covering.
I was about to say, I was going to say that too.
I agree with it.
Yeah, Liberty's gonna put up a fight on that one. I think
Right.
so. They beat Baylor last year.
Oh,
I
you
know
think
a lot-
Auburn's not going to cover, JB?
No, they're not covering.
Oh, okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
you're talking 28.5 points. I don't think they're going to cover.
It's Liberty, but okay.
It's
James?
Liberty, man.
I love how we're saying it's Liberty, but in two different tones. I'm like, it's Liberty, man. You're like, it's Liberty, man.
No, they have came on strong in the last couple of
Yeah.
years since they came on, for real.
I don't think Auburn covers. I mean, 28 points is a lot, especially for someone like Auburn, even against Liberty.
That's fair.
Okay.
Rob?
I already said I think they cover.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to say that Auburn holds Liberty to 7 or 10, and Gus Malzahn accidentally scores 35. So, no, I don't think that they cover, but I think they come close to it.
Accidentally scored.
Malzahn accidentally calls the right plays, and it's a pretty good win.
Because he's calling plays and won't let his OC call the plays.
Yeah.
UAB is coming to Texas A&M. Do you have the spread on that one?
17.
17.
Okay. JB, are they covering?
UAB is actually a pretty decent team. Like,
They're a legit school. Yeah.
they're
They're 9-1.
legit, man. They are 9-1. Yes. I think they're going to cover. I think Texas A&M wins, but I think they get scared a little bit in College Station.
All right. So the three teams that give Texas A&M a run for their money in College Station are Clemson, Kentucky, and UAB. James, who you got? Who you got covering?
Honestly, I think Texas A&M covers, and the reason I say that is because despite how poorly Kellen Mond has been doing, he completely outmatches their quarterback. Their quarterback is barely above 50% on completion. Kellen Mond is riding above 60 on that. He's got 1,000 more yards, and then their quarterback has 7 touchdowns and 6 picks to Kellen Mond's 15 touchdowns and 8 picks. On top of that, our leading rushers both have the same number of carries, and ours has 250 more yards. Our offense significantly outmatches theirs, along with our 4-down linemen have been a force to be reckoned with. They haven't been like the top of the top, but they've been doing pretty well for themselves. And if UAB's leading or their best shot at scoring is through their rush game, and as poorly as their quarterback has been doing, I don't think he's going to outmatch our secondary.
Okay. So James is predicting that the punter gets in on the secondary and shows the world what he's made of. Rob, does UAB cover?
I think they do. Man, I don't know much about UAB, but I did see the passing stats, and I didn't know the other stats that James just threw out there. But I mean, UAB, despite being 9-1, their conference is a joke. So it's kind of you can't really go solely on the fact that they're 9-1. I think amidst Texas A&M struggles, I think they're gonna. I think they're still the offense is still pointing good to run on UAB, or I say run to execute on UAB.
Right. Okay. So Rob is taking the Aggies in the point spread. Louisiana Tech has lost 3 games this season, and they've lost them all decidedly. The people who have beaten Louisiana Tech are none other than LSU, Mississippi State, and UAB. So to say that the conference is that's a true statement, but UAB is a team that really could compete in a Power 5 conference this year. So I do think that Texas A&M wins. I think it's a close one, i.e. within a touchdown. So, yeah, give me UAB covering the spread, but Texas A&M winning the game.
Well, to be fair, a lot of teams could compete in the Pac-12. So if we're gonna go with a Power 5 conference,
that's fair. I don't think they're as good as Wazoo, so you know.
No. I just had to pick fun of the Pac-12 because it's fun.
Yeah. It is fun to pick fun at the crippled kid. So, LSU invites Rice to come to Red State and play the LSU Tigers. So, what's the point spread? This is a night game at LSU too. So,
didn't we?
We've already picked this.
We
hit
that one. Yeah.
We have 2 games left: Ole Miss and South Carolina.
Yeah.
All right.
Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina, Chattanooga.
All right. What's the
So Ole Miss Vanderbilt is a 2.5 Vandy favorite.
who y'all got in that game?
Man, I've got Ole Miss in this game. I know it's at Vandy. I think I think Jordan Ta'amu is a great quarterback. He just is surrounded by a crap for a team, but he's got some great receivers though. So I feel like they're going to light Vandy up like we couldn't do.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay. James, who you got in this one?
Yeah, I got Ole Miss in this one. Vandy, they've been the punching bag this season somewhat, and so I've got to give it to Ole Miss.
All right, Rob.
I've got to go. Shoot, I've been screwed over hard by Ole Miss this year. I've had bad luck picking them. I picked against them many times, dogged them many times, and had several weeks where I got their pick wrong. So I think I'm going to take them over Vanderbilt this week.
Okay. I have also got the Ole Miss Rebel Bear Land Sharks, and I think that they make a statement about who really is the best of the worst in the East, and or in the SEC rather. And Ole Miss wins that one, and I think they win it convincingly. South Carolina invites Chattanooga. What's the point spread there?
I don't see
31.
31. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to say it. South Carolina does not cover that.
They're not covering that, man.
Well,
Rob disagrees. Yes, we have some.
No. I do not disagree. What I was going to say is that I hail from just south of Chattanooga, so I am. I know
Biased?
the program. No, I'm not biased. I just
I'm
know
just
the
kidding.
program. The size of the school is immensely smaller, but I think I don't think that spread. I think Chattanooga will actually. South Carolina is just subpar
They
this
are.
year, so I think Chattanooga will cover that, but I think South Carolina will probably win by 3 touchdowns or so. I mean, it's not going to be a super close game, but I just don't think they'll cover 31.
Well, that's how I'm seeing this play out as well. And that takes it for our predictions segment. Are there any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I did want to explain the situation earlier. So when I was giving my recap and what I was saying about I told y'all, I messaged the guys a few hours ago before we went on to do the show. I wanted to give y'all a fair warning that my sister is in town, and if I don't lock my door, she may interrupt. And sure enough, I forgot to lock my door on my way into my room. And as I was giving my recap, she barged in, tried to push her way on camera and say hi. And so that's why I stood up and was leaning out the door doing that business. So, yeah,
surprise guests are fun.
Surprise guest, yeah.
Yeah, but she's a bit of a loose cannon, and I don't know that what she would say would necessarily be appropriate for the show. I mean, you never know with her, so I figured it would be best to make a fool of myself and make sure she didn't get in.
She's not a Texas fan, is she?
No. But she does live in Washington State, and she does fit in up there. So.
Oh no!
All right, so
yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Now that you mentioned Texas, I'm gonna give y'all as a final thought, just a quick go. 2 of the biggest matchups of the week. We've got Texas playing against Iowa State. Who y'all got?
Iowa State, baby.
Man,
Yeah.
Iowa State is really, really good at winning the games they shouldn't everybody's season.
Exactly.
So I'm taking Iowa State. Man.
All right. That's right. I hate Texas so much, guys.
And that's not to say that Iowa State's a better team. Iowa State's not a better team than anybody in their in their conference. But they are just so good at ruining seasons that it's hard to pick against them.
Yeah.
All right. So one more pick. Game day's choice this week for some stupid reason. UCF and Cincinnati. Who y'all got?
Cincinnati, hopefully.
Yeah, but who are you picking?
UCF. The refs are not going to let UCF lose.
What?
I picked UCF because like Ashton said, the refs are not going to let UCF lose.
They should have lost.
The spread is 7. Just so we're clear.
Yeah,
I'm going with Cincy. Cincy's as bad as Cincy is. They're some of their toughest competition all year. I don't remember what my breakdown of their season had them at, but I think they were somewhere around 33 or 35 on the FPI. So I definitely think that Cincy has got the best shot at taking it. And as poor as UCF has played against some of their other worst competition, I definitely think Cincy has got a solid shot, and so I'm going with Cincy.
They barely beat Memphis.
Yeah, I'm picking.
Hey, Memphis has been playing this season though.
Is there no ranked matchup this week?
I'm picking.
I gave you one.
Football history.
Yeah, Syracuse is number 10.
Syracuse versus Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Syracuse and Notre Dame didn't get college games.
Hold on. Rob, what were you going to say?
Cincy did.
So UCF and Cincinnati, first of all, is a top 25 matchup because Cincinnati is 24. But I was going to say I'm picking Cincinnati because I think UCF is not the same team as they were last year.
That's true.
They've had a lot of struggle wins this year as opposed to last year. Last year, they just blew everybody out. This year, I think they still got the talent, but I don't think they're as good as last year, and I think they're going to fall. So I'm picking
Coach.
Cincinnati.
It's that
Well, that's-
entitlement mentality, man.
They have a different coach this year too. So.
Yes, they do. So
Okay. Well, that's fair.
who you got, Ashton?
Oh, UCF is not going to lose this game. ESPN
think-
loves the storyline. So
You think Cincinnati will cover the 7-point spread?
yeah, it's going to be a close game. But I do want to point out that Alabama is favored by like 16 over LSU, who has one of the best defenses in the country and is one of the best teams on Alabama's schedule and had a legitimate shot at a playoff spot. Alabama's favored by 16, and they more than cover that. They almost double that. And UCF, who wants Alabama, is favored by 7 against Cincy. I just want that to sink in.
Ashton has done a complete 180, man.
Well,
I have. I do not see it. I watched that game a couple weeks ago where UCF came like 1 or 2 plays from losing, and the refs gave them a couple bailouts, and I was like, okay, whatever. UCF is not a for real team.
have you seen some of the signs? They've switched to we want Bama to we kind of want Bama.
I don't think anybody wants Bama.
No.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I think if they got Bama, they would change the signs to "We want Mama."
Yeah, that is accurate.
We want some painkillers. Let's go to Syracuse and Notre Dame, guys, because this is the big matchup.
All right. Well, who you got, JB?
Man, I've got Notre Dame, man. They're running the table, I think. Syracuse played Clemson really hard, but it was early in the season when Clemson had not figured it out yet. I think Notre Dame's got it. So.
Okay. James?
JB, what's the spread on that one?
It is 10.5.
10.5. I definitely think the Q's beats the spread. As far as actually winning the game, that's more of a toss up. But I think I'm gonna go with the underdog in this one. I'm gonna go with the Q's, and hopefully they pull it out.
Okay. Rob, who you got?
That's tough. I think I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win. I think Syracuse is going to cover, but I think Syracuse is probably going to either they're going to make some stupid mistake towards the end and Notre Dame's going to turnover or something at the end. Notre Dame's going to win off of that, or the refs are going to get involved or something. Something's going to happen where Notre Dame's going to win. It's just a bad feeling I have about that game.
Okay. Well, it feels good to disagree with Rob about something. Yeah, I'm taking Notre Dame in this one, and I'm saying they win by 3 scores. Notre Dame by between 17 and 24 is not the 12th best team in the country. They are not that good.
You agree with me on half of that anyway.
Yeah. Notre Dame's going to win, but Notre Dame's going to walk off with this one. Notre Dame's going to run the table, and then they're going to get their teeth smashed in the college football playoff when they run into the buzzsaw that is Alabama. Notre Dame, and it's not a close game. They cover it.
Okay, I've got to read this, man. This is a message from Aaron White, who's in the tavern. He says his cousin sends him posts on Facebook. Will Muschamp just almost ran me over in the crosswalk outside our studio while running a red light. I'm rooting for Clemson now. I just had to share that, man. That was just amazing.
Will Muschamp would have to murder my dog for me to cheer for Clemson.
Oh dear Lord!
As fun as this has been, we really do need to wrap it up. And
do it, man.
College football is a weird thing, y'all. It's weird. We sit here and pretend that we know what we're talking about, but I don't really think that we do. The only thing that we know is that Tua is good. A&M's punter is the greatest athlete the earth has ever seen, and at LSU will never beat Alabama. And beyond that, everything's a crapshoot. And man, it's a lot of fun because there's really so much parity in college football, and there's really not a better sport to try and analyze. I know that a couple of you are going to try to say that basketball is fun too, but it's not. It's kind of intimidating because I don't know what I'm talking about. But football is great, and I appreciate being able to come on the show and talk about football. So yeah, brothers and sisters, those of you in the tavern, remember, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. And when we dismiss from here, we will see you, each and every one, in the tavern. Good night, everybody.
I've lost my buttons. I don't know. I don't know what happened to them.
Well, I guess we're staying live. This is a 24-hour stream.
Oh,
we will be here.
Right. I just remembered.
We'll be here all night.
It's a 24-hour news cycle, and
tip your waitresses.
As soon as we find out more information on Tua's knee, we will let you know. We will let you know that Nick Saban was mean to us when we asked him probing questions. We will let you know everything from here on out.
Maybe we'll get another breaking news story about a coach almost running someone over.
Stay tuned.